What's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with another podcast. And today, for you guys, we'll be discussing a bunch of different films, TV shows, basically things we've missed. We've been off for, I think, maybe a week or two since we last streamed. So there's a couple of topics that I definitely want to get on the books. And we got a full house today with all four Farooqi Bros. So let's get right into it. I want to talk on the superhero side of things, almost like a throwback to the old comic book debate days. But let's talk about the reveal of Krypto the Superdog for 2024 Superman, because it's been causing quite a bit.
2024 Superman, interesting.
2024, 2025, and we're thinking ahead. But we'll edit that. But I'm saying that the new Superman movie has been causing obviously a stir. Everyone's discussing what this Superman movie will look like, and in many ways, this is kind of like, I read an article where someone kind of said that this is Superman's last chance in some ways, and because if this movie flops, this character is going to be put in the fridge for a long time, because when you think about it, no one's going to be. People might say, "Oh, it's James Gunn's fault that this movie was bad," and then they're not going to allow. They're going to let someone else try Superman. But in reality, when you look at it holistically, they're going to be like, "Who were the last three Superman directors?" It was Bryan Singer, Zack Snyder, and then James Gunn. And then none of the movies commercially performed over 700 million, and Man of Steel was the top of the bucket there at 668, and then Superman Returns we all know was a flop, and then Superman 2025 we just don't know what it might do. It might do great, it might do bad, we just don't know. And there is this kind of sense of new tone, new thematic like injection into this movie that the other movies didn't have, and that's Silver Age feel. So I think when you bring up Krypto the Superdog, that's when you're like, wait a minute, what tone will this Superman movie have? And I'm gonna get the reveal picture here, and that's basic. Here, I'm gonna take the banner off. This is basically Krypto the Superdog in the new Superman movie. A lot of people have been giving their thoughts, and again, it's just a dog, really, so it's not that big of a deal what the dog looks like. But people have been saying that, hey, the dog isn't like what classically you see Krypto as. But instead of talking about the breed of dog, I think that's not that important, honestly, in the big scheme of things. I want to talk about what this means for the overall tone of the new Superman movie, and if it's going in the right direction or not. I think that's a more interesting, more nuanced conversation that we can have. I mean, we have Robotic Uzi saying it's straight up buns, so that's also one way to go for it. But we can discuss all layers of the story. So let's get right into it. Should I start first? Because I'm a resident Superman fan. Let's just get right into it. So for me, look, I will say this, that every single official Superman reveal that James Gunn has dropped so far, the other one, I don't even have it on saved. Yeah, I do. It's right here. The first official reveal was this picture, and now the second official reveal is this one. And what I get from both of them is that, why does it look so cheap? Like, that's my immediate reaction. Like, why? I mean, again, it's just a poster, or not even a poster, it's like just an image. But if you're relaunching a universe and you're relaunching a franchise, and especially it's Superman, who you said a million times is going to be the new linchpin of the universe. Yeah, we've heard that before, but it's happening again. Why not just go a little more high production value? I don't even mind that Krypto's in the movie, but why not just up the production value, show something that it's of quality? Because everything so far, it looks like the same quality of the CW Tyler Hoechlin Superman series. Like, I don't see, in fact, sometimes that show looks better. So I don't know why this looks so cheap. And now I keep coming back to it. Why does it look cheap? The costume looks cheap. The graphics in the background look cheap. Like, everything looks cheap. And it's very upsetting to me, because for Superman, he should be given the same type of treatment as Batman. And we're about to talk about Penguin in a little while. And we'll kind of probably circle back to this topic naturally. But I'm just kind of frustrated that you don't see the level of quality that you expect for, the original superhero, Superman, So that's been upsetting me a little bit. Again, we don't know for sure if the final product will look as cheap. It might look great in the final product. We don't know. I don't want to prejudge something. Maybe they're holding some stuff. But the marketing of this movie just doesn't make sense. And I know we're probably going to get a first trailer sometime around Christmas. I think that's probably realistic. But at the same time, like, come on, man. Like, put the production values up a little bit. That's one of the main things. And our boy jumps in. He's like, Superdog in live action makes no sense. You already know the CGI is going to be bad. And that's what I keep coming back to. Like, look, put Krypto in. I don't care. Like, you want to show me a Silver Age Superman? I don't mind. But if you're going to do it, let's see some high quality. And that's all I want to see. So that's my main thing. In terms of Krypto winning the movie, it's like whatever. Like, I'm sure he'll be used in some form or fashion. I'm kind of happy that James Gunn confirmed he's not going to talk. So it's not going to be like a Rocket Raccoon situation. He'll just be a dog that's flying around. I don't know how they're going to do it, but let's see. But that's kind of my main thoughts on it. Zion, I'm gonna jump to you next. I mean, what do you make of Krypto the Superdog in the new Superman movie?
I agree with that. It just looks so cheap, like so cheaply made, and that's a big problem. But I think more worse than that is kind of what he's showcasing as the importance, like what's important to him. Like this is your after the suit reveal. Okay, that's like your first generic reveal. That's the expected reveal. So then after that, you can do anything to market this movie with, and they choose Krypto, and that kind of tells you, or at least the bad sign in my opinion, of what they consider important in this film, as far as what the audience cares about. I feel like this was just an absolute dumb decision. I don't understand why they're putting this as the second like big pull to the audience. That, oh look, we have Krypto. It's showing like they're just throwing all those type of, oh, our Superman's like a nice wholesome, you know, goody two shoes Superman. He has a nice dog with him, and they're not focusing on anything important. I feel like you could have done anything. Show an official picture of Superman as Clark Kent and Lois Lane, or Superman and Lois Lane. They put the dog over Lois Lane. That's what they've been saying right now. I mean, like they're putting so much importance as a marketing tool on Krypto, and that kind of scares me for the movie because it's like you had an option to do anything as your second big marketing pull, and you went with Krypto. And again, you go for the easy, thing where you throw a dog in there, and the people will be more gravitated towards it. But still, I feel like just aside from the presentation of it, how cheap it looks, the fact that they used Krypto as their second big marketing thing, it is just a bad sign for what this movie's headed for. I hope it's just the marketing and the movie's a little better, has a little more depth to it than just, oh, Superman is just Boy Scout. But honestly, it's not looking too good based on what they're considering important marketing wise.
Samir, me and Zion are both going pretty pessimistic on this, and that's kind of even me. I'm trying to stay somewhat optimistic, and maybe it's coming off very pessimistic. But I want to see where you're standing on the fence as someone who maybe wasn't the biggest fan of the last friend version of Superman. So now you're coming in. Are you saying that I don't know you like the old Superman, but it's not the same thing. So you're coming with a more, I think, more objective viewpoint. So are you on our side that hey, this just isn't good, or maybe we're going too hard on it? Where do you stand on that?
I think I agree with Zion that they should have been marketing probably Lois over Krypto. But I don't really think it's all that bad or all that big of a deal. I think this poster, like when it comes to superhero posters, I think this is kind of one of the better ones that I can remember in like recent time. I mean, the when I think of superhero posters, the first thing that comes to mind is like Spider-Man No Way Home's like the worst posters ever made. And I think this one's okay, but as long as the production of the movie doesn't reflect the quality that we see in the poster, like if there's a scene on the moon and this is like the moon that they're gonna be at, then that's probably really bad. But my biggest problem with Krypto is that because this reveal is coming like so early in the marketing, I don't want him to be a huge part of the story, like some like critical point in the narrative where he makes like some decision, like the story like hinders on his actions, like the dog. I feel like as long as he's just there, it's whatever. But they can't really like put him in the story like that. I feel like, um, and actually my biggest problem with the dog is what you said earlier. Is about the breed of the dog. I feel like they just made him like some little guy. He should have just been like a common accurate dog. If you're gonna do the dog, you might as well do it properly, I guess. But that's really my thoughts on it.
Yeah, apparently James Gunn said in a tweet that he based Krypto over his own dog, so that's why he picked a very similar breed. I was surprised also you don't pick just the regular Krypto dog, but it is what it is. I'm pretty sure Krypto's going to be in the Supergirl movie as well, so I don't know how that's going to work. Actually, I thought Krypto's a much better fit for a Supergirl movie where she's like in space and there's a dog with her as a companion and she's feeling alone and the dog's with her. I think that's a much better story than when he's just here now. And I don't know how he's going to be used. Like you said, we don't know what capacity Krypto is going to be used in. There's some set photos where it shows a lot of destruction in like an animal, like a Petco type of place. Where so maybe Krypto's going to run around or eat the dog snacks like that. I can see that kind of comedy scene. And then we have to think about James Gunn's style as a filmmaker. Almost every single one of his films has a big animal component to it. So like this is just again par for the course. So that's kind of what he does. So that's kind of what it's looking like. But Umar, I want to jump to you next. I mean, what are you thinking about? You and me are the biggest Superman fans on the panel, so I want to know what your expectations are now that you've seen a second official reveal from the movie and it's Krypto.
Yeah, I'm not that confident. I think that I don't know. I don't know what I'm still having trouble figuring out exactly how they're gonna map out this particular movie because there's a lot happening. I feel like there's too much happening, but at the same time, it feels very much like James Gunn is just gonna make like very similar to Guardians. Like he's gonna do something similar to Guardians. It's just gonna be with like some DC characters, and then Superman is gonna kind of be the main point. But I don't understand how you do that with a character that's this iconic. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if you were setting something up with like a Peter Quill like he did, then I get it because the character's not like Superman or Batman or he's not that level, right? So you can get away with like having a lot happening. But with Superman, I think you have to kind of it has to be more about him. And I feel like a lot of these side things are gonna take away from his story, and I feel like he's just gonna struggle. Like the movie's gonna be a struggle, I feel like. And I don't think it's gonna make money. I think it's gonna just struggle all the way around. And I think it's gonna be legitimately like a pretty bad movie. What I
I
can
mean,
tell.
on the flip side, you have fans like we have a commenter here saying that the CGI is going to be good because James Gunn doesn't have bad visuals, and that's a bit of a like I guess it's a point of subjectivity of like how you feel about his visuals. I do think, to give an honest critique, I think that James Gunn's Guardians movies look better on average than most MCU movies. So if I just take his trilogy and put it in one bucket and put the average MCU movie on the other bucket, I think James Gunn's movies do look better. So I'll give him that as a filmmaker. But at the same time, and even the Suicide Squad, for what it matters, it is a little better looking than the modern DC movies that came around. But I do think also, if he is a great, which I think he is a solid filmmaker, I just feel like the marketing of this team, like who's marketing this? And I'm just thinking this year, Warner Brothers marketed Dune Part 2. Whatever that marketing team is, let them work on Superman now. I think that has to happen. I feel like almost like this movie, I don't know what David Zaza put the budget for marketing, but it's almost like James Gunn figure it out. Like go Photoshop on your phone, go to some random iPhone app and just send a picture out because there's no production quality. Whereas like when you see a big budget like Dune or even last year, the amount of money that Warner Bros. Put into Barbie to release that, put that marketing team on Superman because you have a lot riding on this movie. Even the Batman, look how well they marketed Batman.
I think it shows their confidence. So
yeah, they're not that confident. DC,
yeah, I think they're not. Yeah, I think they're not confident in it. I think they want to see if it just hits the Marvel audience. And not just the Marvel audience. I feel like if they want to get the general audience somehow, but it's very hard to do that with like this particular character. And I feel like they just went the wrong way with it. I feel like if they made a very, very cookie cutter like Superman, like just a very chill, simple story, he's flying around, he's in his second year, like it would have been easier. Like it would have been much easier. Now they went with like they're trying to introduce him into a world where there's already superheroes, Krypto's in it. Now you gotta do so many different things to make the movie work, and it's hard to actually. How do you even? So my question would be, and anyone can take this, is like, how do you even market a movie like this?
I was reading.
What's the right way of marketing a movie like this?
Well, it has to. That's the problem. They haven't marketed yet, so there's literally no there's no precedent. But I was also thinking that this is kind of like a Superman where it's like he just set. I think James Gunn's point with this DC universe is that the viewer just has to know that there's a lot of superheroes running around and everyone's already established, and Superman's gonna change everything. Like DC at this point is running like the Boys universe or something, and that's how they're doing it with Maxwell Lord running like this prototype Justice League of America with Green Lantern and Hawkgirl and these guys. And clearly you can tell the arc is going to be that Superman's very Boy Scout mentality, his purism, the way he optimistic point of view about killing and about like how to do justice, all is going to play into then the other heroes being like, you know what, we're going to be with you and you can lead a Justice League of your own. And it's kind of predictable, I think, what the movie's going to be. And then Krypto is just going to be like Superman's companion, like he's there with them, so something like that. So that's what I think is going to happen. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, already the thing is the fandom is cut in half, and that's the truth of the matter. Some of the fandom like DC when it's more dark and serious, and some of the fandom like DC when it's more lighthearted. There's really a debate happening right now in the comments where we have people discussing Krypto, whether it fits or not, and everyone's discussing it, and that's kind of the point of it. Like people are a little more divided on what the identity of DC is. With Marvel, I think most people understand Marvel to be like high epic but very humorous, and it's across the board. Like even Spider-Man as a general character is a more humorous character. With DC, there's always a confusion of, hey, what is it? Part of it is because of Batman's extreme relevance of like that dark broodiness and how that takes over and all the other things. But let's see. So let's see how it looks like. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting debate.
I'm also interested to see how they're gonna handle the power scaling, because in the comments, and when we think about it, because super Krypto, he can probably beat Mr. Terrific, he can beat Conqueror. Like, how strong is Krypto? What is the power scaling of Krypto as a Kryptonian dog with the sun? You know, like how he could probably defeat all the enemies himself. You know, you don't need Superman. So I don't know how they're gonna handle that or address that, or maybe just lessen his powers or something. I don't know.
We're gonna lessen his powers. He won't be as powerful. He'll be pretty powerful, but I don't know. Maybe he's on level with Superman. We're gonna see. I also kind of hope they don't make Superman too powerful. Like I was thinking back at like Zack Snyder Justice League, like when Superman kind of soloed the whole league and then soloed Steppenwolf, and it's just like it's done. That's kind of cool for like being a Superman fan and being like, oh, Superman's just like taking over everything. But I feel like this new universe, he should be a little more like the animated series where it's like he's not too overpowered. Like he's powerful, but he's not gonna like one shot the whole universe. You know, like that. That's kind of where I'm standing on that.
He died twice, bro. What's this guy talking about?
He was still running the shit, rather than what I'm saying. All right, but let's probably couch that topic. We're going to come back to DC in a couple of minutes, and maybe we'll be touching on Superman again. But right now, let's pivot away from, the American Superman to potentially what people consider the Japanese Superman, which is Goku and the new Dragon Ball series called Dragon Ball Daima. This is the final project from Akira Toriyama before he passed away, and it's kind of almost like a tribute to all Dragon Ball that came before. And I want to quickly touch on it because the first 2 episodes are now out. And let's just discuss it. I'm going to go first on this one. And one thing I want to talk about is the animation style. I'm really happy with how good the animation looks on this series. There's sequences where Goku's hair, it's like if something touches it, it actually flows backwards instead of being like in Dragon Ball Super, sometimes the previous series, for those who don't know the chronology of how the Dragon Ball series works. Like it's almost like a PNG, just on his head, like everything just kind of goes through it. But here, like everything feels fluid. It feels natural. It doesn't feel like 2D stick figures fighting. Sometimes it feels a lot more like akin to OG Dragon Ball, very hand drawn. And the person who's handling a lot of the visuals is the same people who did the opening sequence for Dragon Ball Superhero. So all that looks good. And I just want to show some of these panels of how how good the images look, So I'm a big fan of how the series is looking. And from a story perspective, it's just fun to have like a wholesome Dragon Ball show, which is all about adventure and it's kind of whimsical. And I think I'm down for it. I'm having a great time enjoying it. It feels very nostalgic. It tugs at the heartstrings. So I'm enjoying it. It's not like the most serious piece of Dragon Ball we've seen in our life. It's definitely not, but it's just a fun show. And I'm over the first 2 episodes. I'm really enjoying it. So I highly recommend it to everyone to check it out. Zion, what about you? First 2 episodes of Dragon Ball. What do you think?
I thought they were good. I do agree that, it being Toriyama's kind of last project that he was involved with. I think that adds kind of what makes it special as well. And it going back to more of the adventurous Dragon Ball original style. It is nice. I think it does pay homage very good to that. And the animation is super crisp. I think that is absolutely top level. That really carries the show. But just the feeling of it, the adventure, the whimsy of it, it is nice, and it's a nice change of pace. Though I am more of like a pure Dragon Ball Z guy. Like I prefer that tone, that style, more of an action series than an adventure series. I think for kind of like the last project that he ended up being involved in, for it to be something so akin to the original Dragon Ball, I think it is nice, and it's almost like a full circle type thing. And I do think it is, so far, episode 1 and 2, not too much has happened, but they have introduced a lot of lore things, and they're going to take the story in interesting places. And I think that it is good for what it's trying to do. I am open-minded. I'm going to keep watching the show. I think I will enjoy it as it goes on more, but I think as just an homage to what Toriyama was all about and everything he's done, I think this is a really great show.
Yeah. The side note: the parade is parading behind you. It's fully capturing on the mic, no doubt about it. But yeah, I'm with you there. And one thing, I don't want to get too into like Dragon Ball on this podcast because our I think our audience is not used to us talking about anime too much. So I don't want to get into the lore aspect too much, but I do want to point out that I am very surprised with how much lore is being pumped into it. We're finding so much about different parts of the Dragon Ball universe, like where the Namekians came from, everything. I'm very interested that actually it's not that safe even. It's like they're actually rebuilding and reshaping what a lot of the lore of Dragon Ball is, and actually does frame the future pretty interestingly. And I'm actually quite impressed. So I mean, I'm enjoying it and kind of what it does. But that being said, I do hope they go back to Super and continue the manga series, because there's a couple of more arcs that definitely needed to shine in the sun. You know, you can't have too much Dragon Ball. I'm a big fan of the franchise. All right, so let's ping pong back to the DC side, because I want to talk about Matt Reeves' Penguin series. Because listen, when we first talked about Penguin, we talked about what comes leading into the series. We were saying that, listen, it's okay, a little bridge show, should be interesting, character study on Penguin. Colin Farrell obviously is a great actor, so kind of like one of those surefire things. But I'm gonna be honest, now that I've seen the first 4 episodes of the series, the 5th episode is dropping tonight. The biggest thing I've noticed is that the writing style of the writing in general of this series is so strong that it has a point to be in the Emmy contention for best series of the year, like across the board. Like it's on that level. I mean, originally it was supposed to be an HBO Max project, and midway through, HBO proper actually took over and said, you know what, this quality actually fits our level, which means it fits Game of Thrones, fits House of Dragons, it fits like that style of writing, like high quality writing, high quality production. And when you watch Penguin, that's kind of what you get out of it. And though throughout the series, I've been very impressed by Colin Farrell, but I'm even more impressed by Sophia Falcone as a character. I think extremely interesting and provocative, and there's a lot going on with that character with multiple layers that I feel like award-winning level. Like I would put her in contention for best actress. That's how well I think she's doing in the series. So Penguin, if you guys have not seen it yet, I think go for it. I know people who are not big into DC are going to be like, why am I going to watch a show just about Penguin? And I get that, but I feel like go in fresh. Don't think too much about Penguin, the comic book character. Just watch it as a piece of television, and just see how it's going. I think you're going to go much more on that. Part of it will have some downsides, and then let Zion get into it more than me. But I think overall as a series, for me, it's in the top few I've seen this year. I mean, I to be honest, I like Lord of the Rings a little more. Rings of Power, I'll put that as my favorite series of the year. But this is, and I don't know how this has still a few more episodes to go, but I think both of these really sit as my 2 favorite shows of 2024. So Zion, I'm going to get to you next as a resident Batman fan. What are you thinking about HBO's The Penguin?
I like it. I do think that this recent episode 4, was definitely the best of the episodes so far, and that kind of says something, because the show is called Penguin, and the one episode where the focus was on Sophia and Penguin was maybe there for 2 minutes, it was the best episode of the series, and it has a lot to do with kind of how it was written and what was happening in this in the episodes narratively. But I feel like though I love Colin Farrell's performance, I think he's absolutely transformative. Like when I'm watching it, I do not see him as an actor. It's like it feels like it's somebody else completely. And I think that's a testament not to his acting, but also kind of the makeup department and what they did to create this character. And the dynamic between Sophia and Penguin, I think that's also a very strong aspect of the show. I think one of the funniest moments was the episode right beforehand where you're having like that fake heart-to-heart moment, and he was like, "Oh, you can trust me, I'll always be there for you." And 2 seconds later, it's like, "Oh, leave her there," and they start driving away. I thought that was just those small moments are how you capture like the essence of what Penguin is all about very well. At least this iteration of Penguin, that he is kind of just really looking out for himself, and he will undercut anybody and everybody to kind of get his way to the top or just keep going up. And I do like that aspect about this show and kind of how they're handling the character. One of my gripes is just them being so afraid to acknowledge or say Batman. Like, I know he's not going to be in the show. I don't expect him to be in the show, but there's times they're talking about events. They say the Riddler once. They should call him, the madman, it's a crazy guy. But they said the Riddler once, but when they're talking about news reports or anything of like things happening in Gotham, in current events about the crime and stuff, they do anything but mention Batman. Like, just say that, just acknowledge his existence, that he is a figure, because you have to assume that aside from the Riddler, he is the most important figure in Gotham right now, as just like an unknown person. and I think them kind of skirting it. I get they're trying to not use that as a crutch. That, oh, look, Batman this, Batman that. They're trying to make this show something else, like stand alone on its own. But not acknowledging it at all is also, I think, kind of a downside in my opinion. I hope they kind of at least mention that Batman's existence is there. But either way, I think from what it is doing, this like Sopranos X DC type thing, it is doing a good job. I'm excited to see where it goes, especially where it left off in episode 4. I think it's heading in the right direction. I did not watch the trailer for the second half of the season because I just want to go into it fresh. But I know people are saying that it looks pretty crazy and looks good. So I am looking forward to it. I think it is a pretty good show so far.
Yeah, I mean, one point I want to throw in there, and it's a testament to Matt Reeves, right? The writing and the team that they put around this universe, and that's the fact that they don't like this is a problem you see with Marvel and you see with Star Wars now, especially in the Disney Plus era. But they don't let villains be villains anymore. They just like have to give everyone some kind of like, oh, he has some conviction in his character that's through line. Even Thanos had it, but. In this one, like Penguin, I mean, like let's call it what it is. He's a piece of shit. Like he is a bad guy, and they don't sugarcoat that. He's a bad guy. Yeah, he can have some endearing moments, and yeah, he's kind of like goofy and lovable at times, just being Penguin. But he's genuinely a bad person, and that's gonna make him eventually. I mean, you can obviously tell he's probably gonna rise to the top, become the new boss at the end of this show, setting up for whatever Matt Reeves is doing for Batman 2. But the idea is that literally every single character outside of Vic maybe is a bad person, like objectively. And maybe some people have tragic backstories or whatever the case might be, but they're all villains, and it's like a bunch of bad people trying to get to the top. And that makes it very interesting to watch because you're like, I don't really want to root for anyone because everyone's a bad person. If anything, I'm rooting for Sophia right now, which is crazy because the show's called Penguin. I'm kind of like, you know what? If Sophia becomes the new Kingpin, I'm down with it. Like I don't need Penguin to run the shit, even though I know he will. But that's one of the main things I'm thinking. Like when I look back, I'm like, this is really well written. So Umar, I want to jump to you next. I mean, what are you thinking about the Penguin so far? 4 episodes in.
I think it just follows the Batman. Like it just that performance was amazing. Like in that movie for Colin Farrell, and he just follows it up in this one. I think from a craft standpoint, like it's definitely really good. I think the score and the way they shot it and everything, it's perfect. I do like what they've done in terms of what you're saying, in terms of like not giving Oz like a reason, like a particular reason of why he's doing what he's doing. Like he just wants to take over, like he's power hungry, he wants to take over. And he's kind of just doing his own thing. I think they did a good job of balancing it out with like showing him with his mom and stuff like that. But I like the story. I like the story of Sophia Falcone too. I think that I actually feel like they shouldn't kill her off. I think it would be amazing if they actually use her maybe in the Batman 2. Like the actress that's her performance has been amazing. Like she went nuts. Like the 4th episode, that was very, very good. So all around I think it's like really, really good. I want to see, I'm curious to see how they kind of bridge it towards the Batman 2, or if in the next few episodes they do maybe acknowledge Batman's side of things. Because I realize that it starts off with like what happened with the Riddler, but I think as they move on, it would be good to see them acknowledge the Batman's presence, even if they don't show him kind of in the movie or in the episodes. But I want to see them acknowledge that. That is something that's a drawback for me. Like I want to see them, like they have to acknowledge his work, like whatever he's doing in the city. But in terms of Oz, I think he's gonna be like his performance is so good. I think a lot of people are just gonna love him in the second movie. Like he's one of the main villains. I don't know if he is, but yeah, that's my thoughts. Scattered a
Yeah,
little bit.
I mean, I don't want him to be a main villain. I feel like he should be a great supporting part of the next movie. Like I don't know, I was.
Who is the next villain, anyways?
Oh, there's no clear, which is a good thing. There's no good rumors, no clear things. I want it to be Mr. Freeze. That's just me. I feel like a winter set Batman movie is where it's at, and if it's all happening in quick succession, like the Penguin series takes place like 2 weeks after or 1 month after, they said something like that, after the Batman movie. So I'm guessing, and so we're basically in like summer to fall, and we're heading into winter. So I would love a winter, snowy Gotham, Batman doing his thing, Mr. Freeze
He
out
kind
here.
of confirmed it in an interview, actually.
Maybe, I guess then that's
Matt Reeves
confirmed.
yeah, he said that like it'll be around December and the new year, like the
Yeah.
second one.
So if you're doing that, I think Mr. Freeze is my preferred. But if they want to go hella realistic, then you can go with I don't know, Calendar Man. Something. I'm not asking. You could do it. Of course, House. One of my Court of Owls is obviously the most people have been saying Court of Owls. Court of Owls. I feel like Court of Owls could be it, but maybe lead for the third movie. Like finale is Court of Owls. Of course, there's always the question of Joker. Barry Keoghan, we saw in a deleted scene that he's playing Joker, but we don't know if number one, he's coming back. Number two, if he is coming back, is it going to be the same type of Joker? We don't know what Joker's role is going to be in this franchise, but we discussed this in our on our own private chat where we were discussing how like why didn't they just give Matt Reeves the keys to the kingdom at this point? Like when maybe he didn't want it, but like why the quality is so good in Penguin and it was really good in the Batman. Like why not just give him the keys? Like go build DC. I'm not sure. Like Zan, do you have an opinion why? Or
yeah, because it's all financials. The Dave Zaz was like, all right, he can go the Batman route, which did do good, but it is not MCU numbers. And you take James Gunn and the money he made with D tier characters out of the Guardians of the Galaxy. If he's available, then pick him up. And I feel like it was purely financial decision. It had nothing to do with quality or story or craft. It was like, all right, James Gunn did this with garbage. Let's have him do Superman and then take this DC to another place, And I think it's purely financial.
I don't know about you. I kind of interested in what Matt Reeves could have done with Superman. Like now, hindsight 2020. Again, on that same note, one of my critiques with Matt Reeves, and I'll be honest, and maybe Samir, you can jump in at this point. Like I feel like Matt Reeves. The one frustration I have with him in the Batman franchise is that it's so realistic to the point where like it's almost more like the Nolan movies. I'm like, wait a minute, we already did this before. But one thing is the aesthetic of Gotham, the aesthetic that Matt Reeves is building with this world is much more comic booky. But the actual characters are so hyper realistic. I almost can't see like Superman just showing up now. Like I don't see he even wants to do that. I think he just wants to do his 3 Batman movies, akin to how he did his Planet of the Apes movies, and just be like, that's it. But I feel like in hindsight, like maybe not him directing it, but him maybe with a protege or a colleague. He's very close with Fincher and other people. I mean, David and Superman is probably a bit too much also. But like he has his colleagues in the industry which could have give their imprint on Superman. And we just talked about Krypto and everything, and just such a big juxtaposition between these two things, like they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Superman 2025, and then Penguin. Maybe that's a good thing because the characters are different. It's just stay different. Because in BVS, they really did kind of close the gap a little bit, and it's like maybe that's not the right thing or not. I don't know. I love that movie, but a lot of people didn't. So it's just interesting to think about how those characters are. But Samir, would you have liked to see Matt Reeves take over DC instead of James Gunn, or do you think that wait a minute, that's antithetical to what Matt Reeves is all about? He just wants to do a trilogy and get the hell out of here.
I think I would have liked Matt Reeves just because of the sheer quality of it, but I do like his realism. I like his world building. I think I like it more than even Nolan's world building for the Batman character. But also, I think the Batman himself should also be kind of superhuman, even though he's just some guy in a suit. I don't want it to feel like he's just some guy in a suit. I want it to be like the Batman, where he's crazy athletic, crazy fast. Like that's how it should be. And I think he definitely could have pulled it off. But if it's not what he wants to do, like if it's not his style, then there really is no point of having him do it.
Yeah, I mean that one scene in Batman where clearly it's the moment where he gets the glider out, but it's like some weird parachute thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like he's not gonna do that. Like he doesn't want to do that kind of Batman. Where even in at least in the Nolan movies, he pulls out the bat, like his cape does like have a reason to become like the bat symbol. But
I think in the second one, like I think his technology is gonna get better. Like he's gonna be more seasoned. Like they're not gonna make it. Like he's not gonna get what's happening.
Talking about the parade, the shit in John's mic. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I think they gotta use I think one way to in a hyper realistic world that they're creating, one way to make him come off more more Batman is to make sure that his technology is crazy, right? And it doesn't have to be realistic. The guy's a billionaire. Just let him make his technology super insane, and that's one way where he doesn't personally have to be like he's not going to be like Affleck's Batman, where it's very much like comic book, where he's scaling across a wall like a weird creature. But you could make him with just better technology come off more Batman. Like that's something you can do. And if he's in his second year, right? In the first one, like just make him scale up in the next one. You know.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I want to see like Lucius Fox and other characters brought in. Let's see how they do it. I'm interested. I just we're in this era of hyper realistic DC for a few of these projects.
Only had a pet.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw Joker 2, and which obviously we've been very low on in our review, and then we saw Penguin, which we were very high on in our review. So it's like they're both realistic, but one we gave like a low score, and one we gave a very high score. I mean, we haven't officially scored Penguin yet, but I think when we finally end to it, I'm already thinking like 4.5 ish, right? So we'll see how they stick the landing. I think it's 8 episodes, so we're halfway through. So let's just see how that how that ends up going. But whether it's extreme realistic or not realistic at all, DC is going in a new direction, and that is to some degree exciting. So I can leave it there. That at least it's watchable, which we're not going to open this discussion to talk about Marvel and Star Wars right now, but in my opinion, those two franchises are more in the gutter than DC, even though DC is performing very poorly these days. At least some kind of optimism, like we're going somewhere. I don't know where we're going. We could go in a bad direction, but at least we're going somewhere. So let's just see where we're going. With Marvel, I don't know where they're going.
Just gotta let Ta-Nehisi Coates do a Superman movie, bro. That's a movie right there.
Yeah, but they canceled it for reasons we both know. So like they got rid of that movie quick. But I from the beginning, you could pull up my podcast from like 2 years ago, and then now it's Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman. I'm there. Like I'm there. Even if you're cast a black Superman, and that was the point of the movie. I wanted to see what he wanted to do with that, because whatever this guy writes, I like his writing style. I think he thinks very interestingly about characters. But that script went straight into the garbage. And even though they said they were thinking about it, in light of recent events I think he's definitely not getting that movie done, unfortunately. But I want to see it. So if I'd rather see it over James Gunn's movie for sure. So that's my point on that. I see the comments are just funny right now, but I'm not gonna open them, but just funny debates. All right, 2 more topics, quick one. This one's down. You can take solo because none of us have seen it yet, but you can give a quick 2 minutes on it. Give your review for the new Andrew Garfield movie, We Live in Time, that just came out.
All right, I'll keep it quick because I know the parade is going up and down in seconds, so I'm not going crazy loud. So, A24 film, Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh. It was a very emotional film, very sad film of this guy. Like it's presented in a non-linear fashion of Andrew Garfield's character Tobias and Florence Pugh's character Almut, and how they meet in the first place, and then kind of the end of their journey since they find out that she has cancer, and then how they're dealing with that and the things they're going through from both sides, as her who's inflicted with the disease, and then him on the side who's kind of going to lose her, and they know kind of what's coming and the decisions they have to make. I think they handle it in a very honest and very sincere way. They don't sugarcoat it. They don't make it like, they don't make it seem like, oh, it's okay and everything's going to be fine. They do handle it in a very realistic way, emotionally and kind of narratively. And I think that's what I really appreciate about this film most. And it does kind of just go through like a roller coaster in the sense that of this kind of emotional spectrum of the ups and downs, since it jumps back and forth between how they first met and kind of fell in love, and now to the end of like their journey in a sense. And it was just, both performances were very strong. I think they captured the emotion very well. It felt real, as like to the audience member as while watching it, their take on how these two people would be feeling in this moment. And I think it was just a very kind of heartfelt film, and I ended up giving it a 4.5. There's not a lot of people in the theater, which of course isn't a good sign, but I think it is a movie that if this is something that something you relate to, or it affects you, or you're into that type of emotional film, it is something to check out, even if it's just for the performances that these two actors gave. It is a very strong film. I think they both did a very good job kind of telling this narrative in an honest way.
Yeah, and I think it's a very sad movie, but I haven't seen it yet. It just looks very sad from what I've seen. But I'll catch it at some point. And just point of Andrew Garfield, I mean, he's a friend of the show, so part of on the Farooqi Bros podcast. So we're gonna give a shout out. And honestly, he's a great guy. His activism for Palestine has been, very strong. We're one of the very few people on our side of the fence who are actually talking about it. So we really appreciate that. So I think it's worth supporting his films as they come out. So good stuff there. And let's shift into our final topic, which is the what to watch. It's the Farooqi Bros recommendations. I'm going to give the rules like I always do every week so everyone remembers, but it doesn't have to be a movie. It could be anything. It could be a TV show. It could be a video game. It could be an interesting book. It could be like whatever. You can recommend what you want to recommend to the audience to check out this week. So Samir, I'm going to start with you on this one, unless you're not ready, but I think you're ready. So what do you think? What do you recommend for the audience to watch this week?
I'm feeling the fall, the autumn vibes, the weather, and I want to recommend Fantastic Mr. Fox because of it, but I feel like Zion already recommended that a different week, so instead I'll recommend Buffalo 66, which is one of my favorite rom-coms. A little controversial. I don't think it has anything to do with fall actually, but it's just something off the top of my head.
There you go, Buffalo 66. Zion, I'm going to you next. What do you recommend the crew?
Since we just came out of it yesterday and it's like the 35th anniversary, I'll recommend Back to the Future franchise. I know we saw the second one yesterday, and the key date is actually this Monday, October 21st, because in the second film, they go to October 21st, 2015, and kind of see the future and their version of it. I think this franchise, especially the first and second one, there is just something like there's a certain film magic to these movies, this franchise, that it doesn't exist anymore today. Like you watch today's movies and they're so like cookie cutter, corporate, machine made. It's like the heart of filmmaking is gone. Like a lot of the old movies had that, and Back to the Future is just another great example of the way filmmaking used to be. And I know some people will be like, oh, it's too corny or it's too cheesy. It doesn't work for me anymore. Especially people of this generation, they probably might not vibe with it as much. But if you're a film person and you have not seen Back to the Future, that is something you must. I think Robert Zemeckis, he just created gold in these movies. I hope it does not get remade because if they try it, it cannot. You can't do what they did back then in recreating. Like, what are they going to do? Go back to the 90s and make it that way? I don't know what they can do because they captured the 80s so well. They captured the 50s well. And then their version of 2015, which we've now passed in real life, obviously very different to what they thought it would be back then. But I think it was just such a fun movie and a fun franchise. And I think it's on a pedestal of what filmmaking is all about. Like, this is what you go to the movies and you have fun. This is what a fun movie is. It's like the definition of a fun movie. And I think it's something people should check off their box if they haven't seen it.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. Back to the Future is a classic and definitely recommend it. So I guess you're not on the boat of seeing Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. play these characters again.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
All right, Umar, I'm going to you next. What do you recommend the audience check out this week?
I recommend a movie called Caddo Lake. It's I don't really know exactly how to. It's one of those movies you can't actually summarize or talk about without needing an hour, so you might as well just watch it. But it's about people vanishing, and that's all I'll say. You just gotta go check it out.
Yeah, I think you can catch that on HBO, if I'm not mistaken, HBO Max. So you can.
No, it's on Prime.
Prime, okay, Prime. Well, Prime in Canada, in America, it's HBO. So check it
Max
out.
in America. Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah,
You guys don't have Amazon Prime?
okay. I remember seeing a trailer for it. Yeah. All right, check that out. So it's always available. And then for me, I'm going on the video game side of things because I've been enjoying this the last week or two, and I recommend you guys play the game Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. This game sold 300 million copies in like 24 hours, so it's already one of the best-selling games of the year, and it's probably going to be one of the best-selling games of the last decade if it continues that trend. But I think it's just fun party game. It's not too much of a, don't think too hard about it being highly competitive. It's not Street Fighter or Tekken or even Dragon Ball Fighters. It's more just a fun time, fun game, good to engage in the story. I think the voice work is quite strong throughout, and the gameplay is extremely fun and addicting. And those who grew up in the 2000s, like most of us did, it's going to be really nostalgic to think about the old Tenkaichi days. So I highly recommend, if you're into video games, check out Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And shameless plug, we do have a spin-off gaming channel called FRQ Gaming, where you're going to see a lot of content from Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, a lot of it curated personally by myself. So you can check it out to see a run through of the story, a bunch of the what if scenarios. I've been uploading one videos coming out today as well. So in general, if you want all things gaming, we don't talk about it much on Cinema Debate because that's a different topic completely. But if you want to see the gaming side of things, FRQ Gaming to check out that side of things. And Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, it's out on all platforms. So I'm very on that game. In fact, we're playing it after the stream. All right, so I think that is all of our opinions. So we're done now, and we can call it a day. So what did you guys think about Krypto the Superdog and the new tone of the Superman movie? If you're interested in Dragon Ball Daima, what did you think all about that? And then of course our what to watch, the Penguin series, all the things we recommend this week: Back to the Future, Buffalo 66. I had Sparking Zero, and Umar's thing I don't remember anymore. Oh, the Cattle Lake. Yeah, so check all that out, and then we'll see you guys next week from the Farooqi Bros. We'll see you next time. Peace out.